You are looking live at Brampton tonight. This intersection flooded with police all day. You can see the forensics team still on scene right now. Here's what we know. At 6 this morning, police say a vehicle rolled up and opened fire on a parked car, killing one woman and sending several others to hospital. Nama Weingarten takes us through the investigation. Plus, she has security footage that caught some of the chaos as it unfolded.
This industrial area in Brampton, right near Rutherford Road South and Selby Road, is where a car filled with people was shot at right around 6 a.m. this morning, with one woman losing her life.
There were 6 occupants of a vehicle, and this vehicle was parked in the plaza behind me here. Now, at some point, another vehicle attended and began shooting at this parked vehicle.
Paramedics say the woman who died was shot multiple times and pronounced dead at the scene. They say another woman was taken to hospital in critical but not life-threatening condition, also suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. 2 more people from that car, a man and a woman, were taken to hospital with serious but less major injuries. Police still haven't released any information about potential suspects and are also yet to identify any of the victims. This area here where the shooting happened is largely made up of auto shops, most of which were empty at the time the shooting took place. But we did speak with one woman who was working the overnight shift when it happened, and she said she heard the gunshots.
It was kind of sounded like when you rub bubble wrap, like that kind of pop, 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 pop.
We also spoke with business owners in the area, including the owner of this mechanic shop. Security footage shows the moment bullets rip through its windows. Then police in heavy tactical gear stormed through the smashed door to examine what happened.
We were just there yesterday, and today somebody died right in front there. So it's very strange, something hard to cope with.
A sentiment shared among other surrounding business owners and employees, who say shootings and thefts in the area have shot up in the past few years.
We are very scared of this thing because it's every day happening in this area now.
Every day we are hearing something happening. Cars are getting stolen. People are getting scared with that things. It's not safe.
Police say while it's still early in the investigation, this appears to be an isolated incident, but any previous shootings will be looked at. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Brampton.
2 people are dead after a pickup truck and an SUV crashed in Norfolk County. It happened around 10 this morning. OPP saying a number of people pulled over trying to help however they could.
And we do have great people that live in our community. We have great people that stopped to assist today. Unfortunately, we do have 2 deceased people. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank them on behalf of our OPP organization. It does take a lot of courage to get out to try and help people that have been involved in a serious, devastating car crash, and that's exactly what this was this morning.
Both the driver and passenger of the SUV were pronounced dead on scene. The driver of the pickup suffered minor injuries. Police are in the process of telling family. Roads were closed in the area for more than 6 hours as police try to figure out what happened. The union that represents about 15,000 faculty members at Ontario's public colleges says nearly 80% of members have voted to support a strike mandate. Now, the College Employer Council says OPSU has rejected its first proposal of arbitration. They've since asked again, but are waiting to hear back.
What we're trying to do is create certainty and stability for the students. Those are our priority, and a strike is completely unnecessary. Right now, the parties are extremely far apart. But we're confident that with the support of a neutral third party, we'd be able to become much closer and reach a negotiated deal.
The council says the union's demands would balloon college costs by almost $1 billion annually. The union says it remains hopeful a contract can be negotiated. Some of the key issues they're fighting for is workload and job precarity. The union's contract expired on October 1st. The City of Toronto is crunching the numbers ahead of next year's budget, and staff want residents to weigh in.
There are no preconceived notions, and there really aren't exact numbers to argue about yet. We need to hear from Torontonians first. When we did that last year, it was successful in that it really told us where we needed to invest for impact.
And definitely there needs to be more support from the province, from the federal government, but ultimately we have to put money into investing in the city that we want for everybody to improve it for everyone that lives here and works here.
One of the things that for me I think has been missing is an overall filter related to the climate crisis.
Stop spending money on bike lanes.
As you can see, the city holding meetings in person and online, too, for the rest of the month, asking Torontonians about their top priorities. Mayor Olivia Chow says last year's feedback led to more spending on housing and put the brakes on increasing TTC fares. The online survey is open at toronto.ca/budget until October 31st. You're looking live at Ottawa this evening. Another sunny Saturday out there. Just a gorgeous day to be outside, but things could be taking a turn. Joining us now is Melinda Singh with our first look at the forecast. Hey, Melinda.
Thank you, Shannon. Now, this ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate is responsible for the gorgeous weekend, not only across the GTA, but parts of Ontario. But all good things will come to an end as this trough starts to descend by the middle of the week. Things will be cooling down and the potential for rain. We'll talk about that in the long-range forecast. But for Saturday, overnight conditions into the single digits, but they are actually above our average overnight lows for this time of year. Now, very similar conditions waking up Sunday morning across parts of the GTA. 8 degrees in the city of Toronto, 7 degrees Newmarket up towards Barrie, Whitby for you as well. But look at Sunday afternoon, warming up quite warmer than we saw on Saturday. This is 10 degrees above seasonal for the city of Toronto, Orangeville, 20 degrees for you as well, but lots of sunshine for your day Sunday. Now, this ridge of high pressure is also responsible for blocking off a lot of that rainfall from impacting us here down towards the GTA and southern Ontario. The longest consecutive days without a trace of precipitation was back in September 10th to 20th. That was 11 days. This could be around 7 days as we head into your upcoming work week. Now, overall, we're looking at lots of sunshine in the long-range forecast.
Great news. Thanks, Melinda. Turning to some international stories next, Cuba has plunged into a nationwide blackout again, leaving millions of people without power for the second day in a row. As Jamie Strachan shows us, Global Affairs Canada says it is standing by, ready to help any Canadians who need it.
On the streets of Havana, near total darkness, only headlights and generators providing pockets of light. We know the situation of the country, that the situation is really bad, says this 61-year-old school teacher. On Friday, the entire island was without power, the electrical grid offline after one of the island's 2 main power plants failed, prompting the government to shutter schools and other non-essential services until Monday. That makes life very difficult for us, says this mother, especially since we have a little girl. For example, everything in the refrigerator goes bad, so just in terms of food, we are very much affected. Power was briefly restored this morning, but then failed again, leaving millions in the dark. In Cuba, frequent blackouts are common, a combination of fuel shortages and ancient infrastructure.
This one, though, is different. This is the worst of, certainly in my living memory.
Canada's former ambassador to Cuba says while Cubans are typically resilient, power outages can push a population already strained by food shortages and struggling to survive over the edge.
Cubans are tired and worn out by all of this stuff. If it's a prolonged affair, then it could start to get a little more, tense. If they can get it up fairly quickly, it'll be almost business as usual.
A key lifeline for many Cubans is the island's tourism industry. Thousands of Canadians visit resorts there every year. Global Affairs Canada says it's closely monitoring the situation, but flights from Canada to Cuba are still taking off. Airports remain open and resorts are running on generators.
Canadian tourists and others who are there right now probably won't feel much of an effect of this, to be honest. Although if you were to go, a kilometer outside of the tourist areas at night anyway, it'd be blackened and darkened streets.
A tale of two worlds, one that remains in the dark, with no clear timeline on when the lights might come back on. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Just 17 days now until Americans cast ballots in the presidential election. Both candidates campaigning in the battleground states this weekend. Chris Reyes takes a look.
And what I think we all know is on Election Day, we don't want to have any regrets about what we could have done these next 17 days.
Kamala Harris is counting on star power to energize her final rallies before the November vote. Taking the stage at her Detroit rally, one of the city's most well-known locals, musician Lizzo.
Kamala Harris has dedicated her entire career to public service, from DA to VP, and I think Mrs. Commander-in-Chief has a nice ring to it.
Early voting has already attracted big crowds across the country. Lizzo announced she was one of those voters.
I'm proud to say that I voted early, and I voted for Kamala Harris.
Michigan is one of 7 swing states in play in this election, predicted to be one of the closest in recent U.S. history. One determining factor could be the state's large Arab and Muslim population. Many have expressed their anger over the Biden administration's handling of the war in the Middle East. Harris was asked whether she was concerned about losing over that issue.
I think what's critically important as we look at this moment is, one, acknowledging the tragedy of what has happened in Gaza in terms of the extraordinary number of innocent Palestinians who have been killed, and taking that seriously and speaking truth about that. In addition, of course, to what I said about what happened on October 7 in terms of 1,200 innocent Israelis being slaughtered, women being horribly raped. And then fast forwarding to today with the killing of Sinwar, this creates an opening that I believe we must take full advantage of to dedicate ourselves to ending this war and bringing the hostages home.
Harris is also holding a rally in Georgia, another swing state, this time with musician Usher. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Some neighbors in Toronto are coming together to try to save their local movie theater. Developers want to use the site for a number of condo towers. As Tyreek Reed shows us, community members are now preparing for a long battle ahead.
I brought my kids to their first Star Wars movies at this cinema.
Every time we come to the movies, we do the little picture where it's the little film strip, and we put them on the fridge. And I see my daughter at 5 years old in that film strip, and I see her at 13. I want to see her in that film strip at 20.
Those are just some of the reasons why the community is fighting to save it from the wrecking ball. An application from Talisker Corporation is proposing to build 12 towers on the property, 10 of them mixed-use residential condos as tall as 46 stories. The cinema has stood in the community since 2001.
Do we really need to go downtown to see movies, to hang out? My daughter, is she going to go all the way downtown or Mississauga to the next movie theater? It makes no sense.
An online petition has gained more than 6,000 signatures, and while the pressure to quickly stop the application grows, any decision could be years away.
If they're successful through the planning process, etc., they are, I understand, believing to do it in a phased way. So the Cineplex site would be sort of the last that would be redeveloped.
But that's not enough for people like Sean Guptill, who says losing the theater would impact disabled members of the community that he works with and frequently takes to the theater.
We practice life skills, social skills, money management when they're going up and buying their tickets, when they're buying food from concession.
While the development offers more housing options, community members say it's not the type of housing that the city needs.
Condos such as these are, they're nice and they're fine. They've got great amenities, but they're not affordable. That's really what our housing crisis is about. It's not about the lack of places to live. It's about affordability.
While the development application is still under review, Cineplex says it still has a long-term lease at the location with no plans to relocate. CBC News reached out to the developer but did not hear back before broadcast. The local councillor says the project still has to get city approval before shovels hit the ground. Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a lot that goes into becoming a good driver. A group of 20 young people got a chance this weekend to start preparing for their G1, learning key road safety tips from Toronto police officers at 43 Division.
All of our students come from one of our neighborhoods. We have students here from West Hill, Woburn, as well as the Morningside area, and they may know how to have the opportunity to get their driver's licenses. This will give them the opportunity, hopefully down the road, to get them a job where a driver's license is required.
The First Gear Driver Education Program is free and runs over the next 5 weeks. It's sponsored by the Children's Breakfast Club and Pro Action Cops and Kids. Joining me now is Jeremy Corshin. He's a driving instructor with First Route Driving School in Windsor. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Jeremy, not only are you a driving instructor, you're also a police officer, so you are on the road a lot. We know driver's ed is not mandatory in Ontario. Talk to us about some of the behaviors that you're observing on the road as both an officer and an instructor.
Well, I've been a police officer for 16 years. I've been a driving instructor for 4 years. And I know it's not mandatory to take driver's ed in Ontario. It's an option. And you can tell with some of the people that take driver's ed and the people that don't regarding the way they stop at stop signs, the way they're speeding on the road, not moving over for emergency vehicles, not knowing how to stop at a stop sign. You can tell the difference.
Yeah, and I'm sure as an instructor, you're able to share some of that experience being an officer, like what happens if something happens when you're on the road. You can talk them through those steps.
Yes, I've, being an officer, I know the difference between dangerous driving, careless driving, failing to move over for emergency vehicle, stunt driving. If I pull somebody over for stunt driving, I ask them if they know what that means. And 3/4 of the traffic stops I do, a lot of the population, they don't even know what that means. And I'm like, I teach that in driver's ed. So it almost should be mandatory that some of these things should be taught in a classroom so the students have full awareness as opposed to just knowing how to stop at a stop sign. I can teach aspects of police knowledge. So this is how you really open your eyes on the road in order to become the safest driver possible, as opposed to just knowing how to stop at a stop sign and knowing how to make a left turn onto a street.
Yeah. CBC's Marketplace recently had an investigation. They were looking at supposed driving instructors selling shortcuts to students, forging documents. Ontario's Auditor General said it was very concerning that there are drivers out there not trained and certified properly. I know that's something that you find concerning as well, and you're working on a project to tackle that.
Well, yes. What I've seen is very concerning on the road. Now that I'm a part of driver's education, there are a lot of illegal teachers or instructors, you might say. To be an instructor, you have to belong to a school. You have to go through the training. I'm seeing a lot of illegality on the roads, and especially police officers were kind of handcuffed in dealing with that and laying the appropriate charges. So, I'm hoping we can form a committee or a traffic committee to kind of address these issues, because that's where you learn how to drive. That's the beginning. And crashes and injuries and fatalities have gone up over the past few years because it all starts at driver's ed. Anybody can pay $40 and learn the route that you need to do to get your G2, but you're not learning how to drive. And hopefully giving some of the police enforcement to deal with these issues might curb some of this illegal activity that's going on with, illegal instructors taking out students and showing them the route, but not really learning how to drive. Hopefully in the future, we can have some enforcement for that.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is alarming to know that is happening. So we'll have to keep in touch with you and track the progress on that. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your insight with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on today.
That's Jeremy Corshin. He's a driving instructor with First Route Driving School in Windsor. The TCS Toronto Waterfront Marathon taking over city streets this weekend with as many as 30,000 runners lacing up today and tomorrow. Among them is Emily Casey.
Having had MS now for almost 10 years, and that I'm still physically in a place where I'm able to run distances like this. And, physically I'm able to do anything I want to. I think it's different than what you might envision when you first get your diagnosis. And it can be motivating in that way too.
Well, congrats to Emily. Today saw the 5K with the half and full going tomorrow. The marathon means a lot of road closures out there, especially on Sunday. You can find a full list on the marathon website. Looking live at Windsor tonight in the sunny Ambassador Bridge, feeling like 19 degrees out there. Melinda is back with us, though, and tracking a bit of a cool down on the way.
Well, Shannon, I have great news for those participating in the Toronto Waterfront Marathon. Gorgeous conditions for your day. Sunday, some partly cloudy skies will be in the forecast as well across downtown Toronto, but these temperatures are 10 degrees above where they should be for this time of year. Now, Monday is actually going to be the warmest day of this entire stretch of beautiful conditions. 25 degrees is our forecast as we head into Monday afternoon. That's around 9 to 13 degrees above where we should be for this time of year. And heat also spreads across parts of northern Ontario. Marathon and Timmins, 17 degrees for a Monday. That's 9 degrees above seasonal. Now, overall, we could be looking at a 7 to 8 day stretch of consecutive days without a trace of precipitation. The last time we saw this was just last month, September 10th to 20th, with an 11-day dry stretch. Now, overall, because that ridge of high pressure continues to develop, we are looking at a rain void across the GTA and parts of southern Ontario. Now, overall, we have seen the temperatures with 25 degrees rather, down towards parts of the GTA, sometimes in November, later half of October. So it's not that rare to see these warm temperatures so far late in the year. Now, lots of sunshine continues Sunday, Monday, to Tuesday, but things will start to get a little bit more cloudier as we head towards the middle of your upcoming work week. We are tracking a trough that's going to be bringing in some cooler air from the north, as well as a northwesterly wind that's going to be cooling us down as we head into the later half of our work week. Gorgeous conditions to start off the week, but a chance for some rain showers is possible by Wednesday, and then start to see a dip down in temperatures not only for our daytime highs, but also for our overnight lows.
Hey, thanks, Melinda. Nice having you with us tonight. That is our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. As we say goodbye, we want to show you some of the beautiful fall colors out there. Now, this footage was captured by our CBC News drone team in Wilberforce, Ontario. That's just north of Peterborough. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 11.